Horizon Giants, almost a Jurex, and this is Kerbal Scuffed Program 2. Jeb is dead and we killed him. Yeah, he died. I guess we saw that in the previous part. Welcome back. Today we are playing KSP once again. In this installment, our Kerbals journey beyond the confines of Kerbin's gravity to the great beyond Duna. Many more Kerbals were harmed in the making of this video. So the Kerbals are those characters, I guess. The Jab and everybody, huh? Alright. Yeah, I saw the first one and it was, let's just say it's just awesome. The whole episode is awesome. It's like best Martin video there can be. It's where Martin should be. After watching Factorial different videos from Martin, this feels like such a Martin video. I don't know how else to say this. Martin is different from Seth. Different from Maxer, right? And he's really great at what he does. And this is just right up his alley. So let's watch it. And I love space, anything space related. And apparently somebody told me that he has a physics degree. So it's just great that he's, making a video about space, a space game. So yeah, it's a simulator, right? Somewhat of a simulator, like you have to get things right, otherwise your space probe crashes or something. Yeah, remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the reaction until there's a link in the description. Check out the cards, check out the cards, and yeah, let's read it.
Hello again, Bill here. Today, we're back in KSP, ready and willing to send our brave Kerbinauts off to almost certain death. Again. In this episode of our space catastrophe journey, we're taking another step towards the stars and going to the other planets in our own solar system.
Hey there.
In case you forgot, our glorious, patriotic, and ethically dubious space program has one goal. Reach another star system, land on its exoplanet, plant a flag, and return. Great sacrifices have been made.
Alright, this hangar has to be extremely big if a rocket takes that much time to just hit it after saying it. So I don't know how much of a simulator this game is, right? I mean, this has to be really enormous for it to look this closer, right? This one. Look at that.
Ethically dubious
space. It's like you're watching in slow motion. Apparently, maybe you are, I don't know. But look at that, this is ridiculous.
Has one goal. Reach another star system, land on its exoplanet, plant a flag, and return. Great sacrifices have been made in this pursuit, and a great many more will surely come. So what happened in the last episode? Well, we flew our first mission, almost got to orbit, actually got to orbit, told Kevin off for being a terrible student. Yeah, you heard me. Went on a boring trip around the moon, and then did a solid moon landing. Nice. Oh yeah, and Jeb died. Rest in peace. It's okay though, because we have a replacement pilot, Valentina Kermit. Like the video if you think Valentina will live out a long and illustrious career in the Bean space program. To achieve our ambitious goals, we've loaded the game up with mods, creating a buggy, unstable, and feature-packed mess of a game. In this video, we're going to go and create some surface bases on the planets in our solar system. We'll sprinkle a couple on Duna and Eve, maybe some around the local gas giant Jewel, and finally, one on the furthest out planet, Elu. So what have we done since the last video? Well, a few things, all within the Kerbin system. We sent Valentina to Kerbin's other moon, Minmus, we went to the moon a couple more times, and we also, maybe, could have, possibly, killed all the remaining Kerbals. That didn't take long. Valentina died in a tragic time acceleration accident while trying to get back into her capsule on the moon. Bob also died in a tragic time acceleration accident while trying to land on the moon. Oh! My fuck! And Bill died after taking this terrible affront to God for a high-speed test drive. Oof. Oh. So no more Jeb, Val, Bob, or Bill. Rest in peace. Instead, we have recruited Urk and Elza Kerman. They've so far flown a few missions each, and not died in the process. Yet. Anyway, let us continue.
Okay.
Ah yes,
Those
the sweet sound
chickens.
of incredibly loud birds. We're starting our interplanetary exploration with the easiest planet to visit, Duna, which is the Kerbal equivalent of Mars.
Yeah.
Our first
Duna.
mission will place an unmanned probe in orbit. This probe will map out the surface and establish a site for future missions to land and perhaps even colonize. For this mission, we have created the most powerful rocket ever built, for like the 7th time. Its name Joe Bidome. It has 2 big solid boosters, a powerful core stage, and a very efficient upper stage. Now let's get this lad into orbit.
Looks like a SpaceX rocket, right? Come on, let's get the slingshot effect.
Very nice. We're left with precisely 6,262 meters per second of delta V. Oi sir, what's delta V?
Fucking Kevin.
Speed. Quite simple. It's how fast you're moving. For example, 4 meters per second. Or, for my American viewers, 2.77 Barrett M82 A1s per second. Velocity. It represents speed, but with
So we've reached a point where Americans don't even use imperial system, right? Miles? No, none of the miles and shit. It's the guns. Guns is the new measurement.
direction. 4 meters per second to the right. In physics, and in maths, the capital delta from the Greek alphabet refers to a change in something. So, delta V would be a change in velocity. For example, we're traveling forwards in a straight line at 100 meters per second. If we point our craft forward, how fast would you expect we go after burning all of our fuel?
200.
Well, since we have a... Kevin? Be quiet. Well, since we have 150 meters per second of delta V, we'd expect to be going around 250 meters per second. And sure enough, we do. If we face backwards and do the same experiment, we go 50 meters per second in the opposite direction. Nice. So why is this useful? Well, it basically measures how far our craft can go. Remember, our craft is being pulled by gravity.
Yeah.
In order to escape its influence, we need to go fast. In order to go fast, we need to change our velocity, and thus, we need delta V. People have made these nice looking maps that give a rough estimate of how much you need to go anywhere in the solar system. As we can see, to get to Duna we need to escape Kerbin's gravity and then extend our orbit to intersect Duna's. According to the map, this will take us around 1,000 meters per second. Anyway, let's go to Duna.
That's sort of space music, but I guess it's different. But a spacecraft named Joe Bidome, it's about right.
To get our desired trajectory, we carefully plot out a course to a nice low orbit that is highly inclined. However, on the way there, I do this. Oh! What happened here is my incredibly fat, sausage-like fingers mashed the time accelerate button and shot me straight past Duna. Are you nice. Not to worry though, we packed way more fuel than necessary and can literally just turn around and chuck her in reverse. To prevent shooting past again, we point backwards at the closest approach and slow down until we get a nut.
NASA do something similar, right? They shoot past the target. Ah, it's alright, we have fuel. We can almost turn back, yeah.
Nice circular orbit. And there we have it. We're in orbit and mapping the surface of our first planet. On to... I'm just going to tell you right now, Launch 2 was a complete disaster. For Launch 2, we built another powerhouse of a rocket, Pog Frog 1, with one simple goal. Footprints and a flag on Duna. The rocket was going to place this section here in orbit of Duna. This lander would then separate and fly itself down to the surface where we'd do whatever it is we wanted to do. Whether that be running temperature scans, planting important flags, observing the goo, or dropping the Kerbal repeatedly on his head. After doing this important science, we'd hop in the lander and fly it back into orbit to meet up with the transfer stage. Fairly simple, right? Yeah, you'd think. Anyway, let's launch.
Okay.
It was here in low Kerbin orbit that I realized my first mistake. Luckily, it was fairly inconsequential. Instead of a scientist, the game had placed an engineer into the rocket, meaning we had to launch a quick ship to swap out the Kerbals. After this, we transferred to Duna. In orbit, we separated the lander, hopped inside, and lowered our orbit into the atmosphere. And there we have it. Urk hopped out and planted our first interplanetary flag. He named this incredible site Monkey Planet Now Claimed, and inscribed the plaque with truly an event to behold. It was at this point that I ended the stream. It was quite successful.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Somebody should do that, like SpaceX, NASA, somebody. You know, whenever they land something, plant a monkey flag and do the flags with that, right? Imagine some ancient civilization comes like, holy shit, look at that. Those monkeys really know how to, you know, basically go into the rocket, go to another planet. And what happened now? Now they're just, you know, flying through the trees. That would just scratch people's head like, okay, what happened?
Nothing exploded. No Kerbals died. Generally, good stream. If only the next went as smoothly. The next stream began where the previous left off. We just landed and collected some sweet science. Now, in KSP, you can quite easily rack up huge amounts of science by visiting different biomes, and this is what I plan to do first thing this stream. Lucky for us, there was a different biome quite close to our landing site, so I decided to go and visit. And then, this happened.
Oh.
Well, fuck. No way to get back into orbit, no way to meet up with the transfer stage, and no way to get back home. Poor Urk was stranded. So, we immediately got to work on
Rescue is, oh god, this is so good.
This was actually quite easy to design, because we'd already done it. Introducing Pog Frog.
Yeah, look, if this happened in here, basically in Mars, right? Like somebody got stranded like that. If they don't have fucking resources, there is no rescue mission. They're dead before any rescue mission can get there, right? It takes a long time to get there, basically.
1.5. Thank you. All we had to do was remove the science experiments, most of the transfer stage, add an antenna, and we were ready for launch. So, we launched. However, on the way up to orbit, this happened.
Oh
yes,
shit.
that is in fact where the engine is supposed to be. Despite this minor readjustment, we pressed on with the upper stage and made it into orbit. In orbit, we opened up the solar panels and sent an alarm for Duna's transfer window, which was going to be in around 150 days, meaning Urk had to entertain himself on Duna's surface for over half a year.
Come on.
Poor Urk. We then set time acceleration to 1 million times and quickly got to the transfer window. Oi! Just wondering what a transfer window is? Nah, that's it. I've had enough. Anyway, class, you may be wondering what a transfer
The school is apparently a satellite.
window is. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Today, we're learning some more basic orbital mechanics. So, here I am, in orbit at 75 kilometers in altitude, only just above Kerbin's atmosphere. Here is Jim. Say hi, Jim. He's orbiting at 150 kilometers in altitude. Which one do you expect orbits Kerbin faster? If you said Jim, you're wrong, and you should feel bad. I orbit faster. But why? Well, firstly, if you cast your mind back to circle geometry, this circumference is smaller than this one, so it has less overall distance to travel. On top of this, my craft is experiencing stronger gravity.
It's not just that. If you're closer to the planet, gravity basically sucks you more, right? Basically. So if you want to keep that orbit. First of all, you're in that orbit because you're much more energy, right, compared to the other one, because you're that closer, so you'll be faster anyway, right? Otherwise you fall inside. So since you're in orbit, the closer one will orbit much faster.
Because it's closer to Kerbin. Stronger gravity means we need more force in the opposite direction to cancel it out, which means we need to go faster. Hence, our speed is higher, and our distance is shorter, making each orbit much faster than Jim's. This demonstration also applies to planets. Kerbin is closer to the Sun than Duna, and thus orbits faster.
That's why low Earth orbit is much faster, right? While geosynchronous orbit, which is much higher, is geosynchronous. It's basically the same speed as Earth. It can just line up to where it's looking at, right? So it would take exact time as Earth takes to, I guess, turn around. While low Earth orbit basically have 45 minutes something, just basically turn around like that.
Sometimes they're close together, sometimes they're far apart. Now we would like to travel between them. Lucky for us, there's a time when they line up just right and a craft can travel between them very easily for relatively low fuel. This time is called a transfer window. The downside, of course, is you have to wait for it. Bringing us back to Pogfrog 1.5, sitting in orbit of Kerbin waiting for the optimal transfer window. And would you look at that, it looks like we're ready to go.
Yeah, that's why there is only some time in a whole calendar year where you can launch a Mars mission. You have to get that shit right. If you make a mistake, there you go, time period is gone. You have to wait for another one. Basically to them to line up just right so you can slingshot to the Mars, basically. I landed.
Now, we have a slight problem. Our lander is quite low on fuel, and our Kerbal is about 19 kilometers away. Quite close to a half marathon distance. So, we better start waddling.
Well, if it's anything like the difference between Earth and Mars, where Mars's gravity is much lower, right? In that case, basically you can just easily walk 90 kilometers like it's nothing, because you weigh much less, but your muscles are still same strong, right? So basically you can super jump. You're basically a super athlete if a planet weighs very low. You can jump higher and everything. So by that you can definitely walk 90 kilometers like nothing.
Oh wow, would you look at that? The footage corrupted and we're here. Amazing. We seem to be very low on fuel, but that should be okay. Let's get out of here. Oh, what the fuck? Hold on, let me fix that.
That's how you fix basically everything. Electronics. That's how whole
there we go.
NASA
A nice
works.
round orbit created by our large amounts of fuel and delta V that we absolutely had on our rocket without question. No questions. Only problem here is, we seem to have run out of fuel, and we need to meet up with the transfer stage in orbit. But we can't, because there's no fuel. So Urk is stranded again. I think you know what this means.
Rescue Mission 2. The Rescue Mission 2 apparently. So Rescue Mission 1 was, I guess they ran out of fuel. So it was a failure, but not really failure. They just ran out of fuel, so there's Rescue Mission 2. This is the best thing about this game, right? So if you make a blunder, you're gonna Rescue Mission 2. I mean, obviously this is not part of any game missions or objective, right? You just do something. But yeah, you can just create missions by your own self. That is fucking awesome. So yeah, let's watch it. I hope Martin does more about this, and I'm pretty sure there is another Kerbal Space Program game in the works, Kerbal Space Program Game 2 or something, right? And Martin is so good with this, apparently has physics degree or whatever. So I like how he just, write some equation and talk about this and that. It's just great. So let's watch it.
This mission is even simpler than the last one. Because Urk is no longer on the surface of Duna, we don't need to include a lander. Instead, we can simply include a small orbital vehicle for Urk to use to reunite him with the transfer stage. Unfortunately for Urk, although this rocket is on the pad and ready to go, he'll still need to wait another 150 days for the transfer window and another 100 for the transfer itself. Poor Urk.
Alright. So, somebody said that these Kerbals apparently have some photosynthesis effect on them, right? Now, first of all, if that's the case, wouldn't that be a problem if the Kerbal is in the suit, right? And I don't know. And if the photosynthesis is is how basically they get energy. Oh, it was cut off. All right. So yeah, if they use sunlight as photosynthesis, it would be a problem with the spacesuit, right? But I guess the face area is exposed, so I don't know. Yeah.
And we're here. Urk, however, doesn't have any fuel in his EVA pack, which means we need to move the rocket just right in order for him to grab onto the ladder. And there we go. We get in, meet up with the transfer stage, get inside, wait for the Duna to Kerbin transfer window, transfer back to Kerbin, ditch the engine and tank, re-enter Kerbin's atmosphere, open up the parachute, land, and recover the vessel. So finally, after several years in space, Urk is home. And unharmed. So we'll give him a one-day break, and then send him back out.
Alright.
So, after a long and tedious design... Okay, let me let him back in.
His editing style is like Indian historian. Look at that.
Anyway, after a long design process, here is what the program has come up with. The wonderfully named Urk's Tomb, to remind him of how long he's going to be staying there. This craft is a ground base. Its goal is to land on the surface of Duna and use this little module here, a science lab. In a science lab, you place important data, collected from experiments, and analyze it. It takes in one science as one data, and after analysis, gives you 5 science. So basically, science times 5. Pretty pog if you ask me. Now, Mr. Kevin. Oh yeah? I'm going to issue you a challenge. If you can design the transfer craft and launch it for this base, I won't throw you into space ever again. Oh, and you have 4 seconds. Go. Okay, time's up. Oh, yeah, I think I did pretty good. Let's see what you got for us, Kevin. Oh my god. It's beautiful. The optimized engines, the fuel ducts leading into the center stage, the 300 kilograms
In
off the
4
back
seconds.
limit, the slightly scuffed fairing.
It even has a watermark.
Okay, so Kevin, it's bad. Anyway, we're gonna use this vehicle to take us to Duna. Oi! Why'd you throw me out? You're using me craft. Yeah, anyway, let's get this guy up and into orbit. Alright, I think you know the drill by now.
Alright, when you send a rocket, all the parts apparently detach, right? So, all the parts that detach basically goes into the Pacific Ocean, right? I'm pretty sure. So, I know we talk about how, orbit is cluttered. But holy shit, the same amount of clutter is also in the Pacific Ocean. Because all the satellites that's there, a rocket send it there, right? And rocket basically detached all the shit in the fucking Pacific Ocean. Up until SpaceX, there was no reusable rockets. So it would be ridiculous to scan Pacific Ocean and see how many crap is inside. You can even look from inside. Damn, this game is good, man.
For the final time, Urk has touched down on Duna. Unfortunately for him, he will never leave again. He plants a flag and inscribes the plaque with, "Uh-oh." Poor Urk. He goes and runs all the experiments available on the craft. This would ordinarily create a pretty big bounty of science for us. But with this science lab, we can turn it into a huge amount of science.
Oh god.
Given some time.
I hope we don't come across a time where this is basically an objective. Like one-way trip for the science or something, right? Asking for volunteers, and apparently there will be one. I'm pretty sure. There are people like for the science, I'll give up my life or whatever. Who literally goes to some planet like this with no sense of coming back or something because it's not feasible at the time. Basically sends the data and dies there. That would be so grim, right? I can see that happening. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not gonna happen anytime soon, but in future I kind of see that. Yeah, this fun. I love this game, man. All the different type of basically datas and things to calculate before you launch, and you have to get everything right, otherwise the mission fails. This is the next best thing. Like everybody just, NASA is sending a rocket, and everybody just watches like, oh, what's gonna happen? SpaceX is launching a rocket or something. Everybody just watches. Everybody loves anything related to space and rockets, right? So this game is kind of like a simulator to that. This is just great.
And, after a year and a half of sitting inside a cramped room collecting data, Urk has generated over 8,000 science for the program to use. Urk has made great sacrifices for our space program, and for that, we are thankful. Thank you, Urk. Godspeed. Oh, wait, what the hell? Where'd he go? Kevin? Hey, Kevin, what are you doing? What the fuck? Where'd you get that from? Kevin, get back. Kevin, what the fuck? Where'd you get that? Kevin? I'm doing my own thing. Fuck you. Kevin! Where'd he go? What the hell? He'll come back, right? Right? Well, anyway, where were we? Oh, that's right. With our huge bounty of science, we can research new and exciting technologies. Better heat shields, more efficient engines, and special nuclear reactors are all available to us now. Very good. I think this means we should start building.
Alright.
So
this game is something like Factorio, right? Where you just, gather more and more, and eventually more and more technology will be available to you the more you progress, I guess.
Good Duna. Some probes, a landing, and a base. Now let's move closer to the sun, to the purple
This
boy.
music.
Eve. The biggest bastard in the solar system. What are we going to do there? The exact same thing as with Duna, but with a single launch. We're going to send a relay probe and a base. No lander this time around, because leaving Eve is reserved for people that have gained access to their entire nervous system. So why is Eve a total bitch to leave? 3 things. Its very dense atmosphere, general girthiness, and high gravity. At sea level, the atmosphere is so dense that some engines simply don't work at all. The other reason is that to orbit Eve, you need to be going at around 3,000 meters per second, which is pretty quick. So no leaving for us. Or at least our Kerbals. On this one-way trip to the purple hellscape, we have recruited our man, our boy, our hero, Obson Kerman. He'll be seated in the craft science lab for the remainder of his life.
1 star.
Poor Obson. Anyway, you know the drill? Let's get to Eve. Now that we're in orbit, we lower it into the atmosphere. Time accelerate ahead, burn up and explode.
The fuck?
Just kidding, I'm a professional, and this is definitely something I would never do. What actually happened is I put the lowest point of the orbit around 50 kilometers up so the atmosphere could slow us down. Wow, would you look at that? It's getting hot. Really, really hot. Must be all that friction, right? Yeah, that friction really generates a lot of heat.
What did he reload it or something? Right? Because I'm pretty sure what just happened did happen. So he's like, I guess I'm gonna do this again. Somebody tell me in the comments that whenever he just caught somebody in there and just sarcastically says something, that's when he uses cheat engine or something.
On re-entry, doesn't it, guys? Yeah. Friction! Definitely couldn't be any other mechanism other than friction. Oh. Hello? Yeah, who is this? Wait, what about the YouTube comments? Oh, it's not friction? Huh. No, I didn't get it wrong in the last video. You see, there's this guy in my class, and he's called Kevin.
It's
Hello
all
again?
Kevin's fault.
It's me, Vsauce Derek. I'm here to talk to you about compression. No, not video compression. Air compression. Air compression is actually what causes the heating on re-entry. But how? Well, first off, what is air made of? Pretty simple. It's made of molecules. A whole lot of molecules. Now, what is temperature? Also pretty simple. It's how much a given molecule or atom is vibing. More vibes equals more kinetic energy, which equals higher temperature. Fairly simple. So as you can imagine, if you squish a bunch of air molecules together, they're going to bump into each other quite a lot. Bumping into each other equals more vibes, which equals higher temperature. Now normally moving around in the air doesn't burn you to a crisp because the air molecules can get out of the way. However, say we're traveling at a modest 3 kilometers per second. The air molecules now don't have any time to get out of the way and are compressed into a superheated plasma. Pretty cool. Actually no, pretty hot. Which is why we have this heat shield. Anyway, we don't burn up in the atmosphere, deploy the chutes, jettison the heat shield, deploy the legs, and touch down on the surface of heat. Very good. Hobson leaves the confines of the science lab for the last time in his life and plants a flag reading, Hobson in the house. Woo woo. Nice.
I mean, yeah, compression thing makes sense. I mean, obviously friction, I mean, you can do something about friction, right? I mean, you can make the surface so there is no friction in a way, but that doesn't work. So obviously compression makes more sense. Molecule gets jammed more and more together and they just heat up, right? That's how it works with the compression. The more and more you compress, the more, yeah.
Once he gets back inside, he begins working through the mountain of data, slowly turning it into sweet, sweet science. How much science? Well, after 3.5 years, he manages to acquire 25,000 science points. Well done, Hobson. Good job. Like the last time, we use the science to unlock more parts, and then we go out again.
Okay, how many launches are there?
So, there we go. Eve conquered in one launch. Very good. Next up, the Joule system. Now there's a problem with going to Joule. It's very far away, which means our high-powered 4G antennas can't reach it to communicate with our crafts. Even if we upgrade it to the skin-melting speeds of 5G, the signal will still be lost behind all the planets. The solution? A relay satellite network in orbit of Joule. Like real 5G, our satellites are short range. So how do we solve this problem? More satellites. Behold, the great and powerful Telstra Incorporated 5G tower dispenser. The most powerful rocket ever built. 16 satellites per layer, 2 layers per hex section, 3 hex sections. In total, 96 satellites in a single launch. Very nice. 5G coverage, here we come.
Ooh, I like that view. That was so awesome. I like how you just, ascends and just sun is in the, background that just goes out of the fucking planet. It's just great.
To spread the satellites out nice and far, we place the craft into an orbit intersecting Joule's chunkiest moon, Tylo. Then we max out the reaction wheels, spin up the craft to a truly eye-watering speed, and... And there we go. We've rendered the map completely unusable, but we've also placed probes absolutely everywhere. I see this as a complete win.
That is sort of mentality.
Now I know I said I'd do an ELU base this episode, but I can't be asked. Once again, you'll have to wait for episode 3. I'll tell you when the next one comes out, but only if you subscribe.
That's it? Okay.
This is not optional. Oh, and also follow my Twitter to gain deep insights.
This was good one, man. Yeah, map is completely unusable, but yeah, it's a victory because we lost satellites. This is great. I like how, basically all the music that he adds, the internet student style jokes. I'm pretty sure they take inspiration from internet student because that's very internet student style jokes with the walking and everything, using this kind of stock photos. Yeah, overall it's fucking awesome. You should do more Kerbal Scuffed Program because this is so far the best, one of the best videos of him, this whole series. First part and second part. We'll take a third part, I guess, tomorrow, I guess, yeah. Alright, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the reaction, there's a link in the description, check out the cards, everything cards, and yeah, I'll see you next time.